The tunnel of light behind the spine, entry points into the hidden corridor of consciousness, opening transmission. There is a narrow passage hidden in silence, more ancient than breath, a thread of light winding behind the spine, untouched by muscle or bone, not made of matter, but of awareness itself. A shimmering tunnel that opens only when the mind no longer pulls outward. In the oldest schools of inner knowledge, this tunnel was spoken of in hushed tones. Not as metaphor, but as reality. Not as visualization, but as the very architecture of higher perception. Its doorway rests in the body, but its direction leads beyond it, and within it, something waits. Something you've always felt but could never quite name. The tunnel behind the spine is not just a channel of energy. It is the forgotten entrance to the deepest mystery you carry. Let us now walk it together, step by silent step, into the tunnel of light behind the spine. 1. What is the tunnel of light? Imagine a luminous pathway that runs vertically through the center of your body, not the physical spine, but just behind it, not in the nervous system, yet intimately interwoven with it. It begins subtly, like a thread of presence, and when followed, it becomes vast, a corridor of intelligence, perception, and direct knowing. This tunnel is not just symbolic. It is a functional space of travel for awareness, a vehicle of transition, from outer to inner, from mind to stillness, from form to essence. It begins in the pelvic floor and rises to the top of the head, but in its true form, it opens beyond the head. It stretches into realms not bound by time, memory, or personal thought. Many traditions speak of it, though with different names. But here we'll leave those names behind, because what matters now is not concept, but entry. The tunnel is always there, but almost never entered. This tunnel is not created by practice. It is not built by imagination. It is always present, even now. But its entrance is so quiet that almost no one hears it. It doesn't call with sensation. It doesn't pulse with force. It whispers with stillness. Most people live their entire lives orbiting outside it, because their awareness is always caught in horizontal movement. In past and future, in thought and object, in body and environment. But this tunnel is vertical. It does not run from one thing to another. It runs from form into formlessness, from the seen into the seer. To enter it, one must do something radical. One must stop completely. Where is the entry point? Though the entire spine is involved in this inner corridor, there are 3 key regions where access becomes especially possible. These are not physical doorways. They are perceptual gates, places where attention becomes thin enough to slip through. Let us look at each one. The base gate, below the navel, at the root of presence. When one becomes utterly still at the base of the spine, not through effort but through letting go, a silent opening can be sensed. It does not flare with light. It recedes, like a black velvet softness that draws awareness inward. This entry leads into depth, into grounding beyond thought, the heart gate, behind the breastbone, where warmth meets stillness. This gate is more emotional, more relational. It opens not through focus, but through gentleness. When awareness becomes tender, unguarded, and quiet, there is a corridor that begins to shine behind the heart. It feels like returning home. This path draws you toward the sacred center of being. The crown gate, just above the head, yet entered from within. This is the highest entrance and the least understood. It opens when attention becomes so still that even the sense of me begins to dissolve. Then something subtle lifts upward. Not the breath, not the spine, not a thought, but awareness itself begins to rise. This ascent is not outward, it is inward and upward at once. all three gates are connected. They are like secret doors in a spiral staircase that climbs without walls. For how does one actually enter? Not by force, not by belief, not even by concentration in the traditional sense. You enter by matching the frequency of the tunnel itself, which is stillness, which is presence, which is vertical awareness, not chasing, not pushing, not thinking. Here is a simple sequence you can try. Sit upright with the spine aligned but relaxed. Close the eyes gently. Breathe naturally through the nose. Place your attention just behind your spine, not on any point but on the line. Let your awareness fall into that line like a drop of water into a quiet stream. Do not visualize, simply listen inwardly. Let your thoughts come and go, but keep a steady sense of this vertical current. Eventually, something will begin to shift. The mind won't fall asleep, but it will stop chasing. The breath won't stop, but it will become quieter than the body itself, and awareness will begin to move without moving, rising, sinking, expanding, and then you will realize you are inside something, not thinking about it, but walking it. Why is the tunnel so important at the time of death? Because this corridor is the exit route for the soul, not metaphorically, but directly. All great inner traditions teach that the way we live shapes the way we leave, and the tunnel behind the spine becomes our final passage when the body dissolves. If one is practiced in entering this tunnel during life, then at the moment of death there is no panic. There is a natural movement inward and upward. The being rises, not into dream, not into fear, but into clarity. The tunnel is like a bridge of light. And if one has learned how to walk it, then when the final breath comes, it becomes a stairway. This is why yogis lie on the left side when nearing death. It opens the right nostril, activates the solar path, and subtly aligns the body with this inner channel. But more important than physical posture is subtle awareness. The tunnel opens not by technique, but by familiarity. So the question is not, how do I open it at death? The question is, how familiar am I with it now? 6. Misconceptions about the tunnel. Some people confuse this with visualized energy channels, or with the spinal cord itself. But this tunnel is not seen with the outer eyes, nor imagined like a line of light. It is sensed. It is entered by awareness becoming still enough to notice its own direction. Others think they need to force energy up the spine to find it. This is not only ineffective, it can be destabilizing. The tunnel is not something to push through. It is something to fall into. It is always already open. The real question is, can you become quiet enough to notice it? 7. The most subtle teaching of all. The tunnel is not ultimately a path through the spine. It is a path beyond location. It uses the body as a reference, but leads you into what has no boundary, no form, no origin. And this is the highest secret. At some point, even the tunnel dissolves, and only awareness remains, without pathway, without movement, without second. But until that moment, this tunnel is the most direct way in to what is beyond all directions. You do not walk it with your feet. You walk it with your surrender. And at the end of that surrender, you do not find a destination. You find yourself, not the one you thought you were, but the one who never moved at all. If this teaching stirred something deep inside you, something wordless and ancient, then I invite you to explore this practice inwardly and consistently. Let the tunnel of light behind your spine become your silent companion. Not just at the end of life, but now while you are still breathing, let it remind you that the path home is not far away. It is right behind you, inside you, waiting in the stillness behind the spine. Subscribe for more transmissions like this, and if you feel called to support the unfolding of these sacred offerings, you can become a member of this channel to help carry this light forward. May this pathway open gently for you, and may it lead you back to what has always been watching. In our next sacred offering, we'll explore mapping the astral terrain where most travelers get lost. A subtle, detailed look at the inner realms encountered in out-of-body states, sleep transitions, and meditative journeys, and why so many seekers confuse reflections for realities in these spaces. Coming soon.